faith in me. Purport. Bharat Maharaj was very noble and exalted, and therefore when the deer was absent from him, he thought himself unworthy to give it protection. Due to his attachment for the animal, he thought that the animal was as noble and exalted as he himself was. According to the logic of Atmana Manyate Jagat, everyone thinks of others according to his own position. Therefore, Maharaj Bharata felt that the deer had left him due to his negligence, and that due to the animal's noble heart, it would again return. Bharat Maharaj would think, alas, the deer is now helpless, I am now very unfortunate, and my mind is like a cunning hunter, for it is always filled with cheating propensities and cruelty. The deer has put its faith in me, just as a good man who has a natural interest in good behavior forgets the misbehavior of a cunning friend and puts his faith in him. Although I have proved faithless, will this deer return and place its faith in me? So, in this world, one conditioned soul thinks that he or she can protect another conditioned soul. And this is true to some extent, but not absolutely true. And no one can give full protection, 100% protection. But one can give temporary protection, partial protection, maybe some protection for the body or for the mind. But the real protection is provided only by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the real protection is actually on the spiritual platform. One cannot protect the body because the body will perish. Anyone who has taken birth, he has to die, Bhagavad Gita says. It is 100% sure. And then, what is also 100% sure is that he will take birth again, if he has not achieved higher consciousness so that he can transcend the new, having to take on a new body. But here, this thinking of Maharaj Bharata is influenced by illusion. And he said, oh, the deer is helpless and I didn't provide proper protection. So he felt guilty. And I have betrayed this little deer. He has put faith in me, but I neglected him, and he is gone now. So, actually, Maharaj Bharata was not neglectful. He was very considerate, very conscientious, and so what was his neglect of the deer? He actually was doing his rituals and his worship, and he shouldn't have felt guilty because of this. But because somehow he shifted, or somehow he has chosen to shift his attachment from Krishna, from God to deer, then he felt obliged, he felt responsible, and he felt guilty. So this is this example, his example of attachment can be applied to attachment to anyone or anything in the material world. It's like a universal problem of conditioned souls, is that they get attached to something or to someone. Some people are attached to money, some people are attached to other conditioned souls, some people are attached to their pets. Srila Prabhupada says in one conversation that you always have to surrender to someone. If you don't want to surrender to God, you have to surrender to dog. So people serve their dogs, people serve their pets, and give them affection, and clean after them, and feed them, and dress them, and bathe them. They're just doing worship as one is worshipping the deity of Krishna. And one man was saying, when he returns home from a business trip, the only person who is glad to see him is his dog. Because other family members, although he is bringing money, but the other family members somehow are not very impressed. He was thinking like this. So sometimes there is some relationship between a man and an animal, like this is described here in this in this particular chapter, where the character of Maharaj Bharata was described. So what was his character? Actually, from the mundane point of view, he had a very high character. He was very noble, he was compassionate. But from the spiritual point of view, his character was very weak. His character was very flawed, full of flaws, full of imperfections. So this verse and other verses describe how he was thinking, how he was talking to himself. He was thinking of the deer. So there is one story of a Brahmana and a prostitute, and at the end of life, a prostitute went back to Godhead, and Brahmana didn't go back to Godhead. And then he was inquiring why he didn't go back to Godhead. And why she went back to Godhead, because he was, like following everything and living in the temple, but she was not. She was living outside and doing this sinful job. So he was told that although she was living like this, she was always thinking of God. She was always yearning, desiring, longing to be with God. But although he was following everything, he was thinking about something else. He was thinking about the material world, material life. And so from the outside, it may look like some people are first class, maybe dressed first class, maybe even behave first class, but if their heart is not interested in the relationship with God, then they will not attain the supreme destination, at least not in this lifetime. Sometimes it is said that heart has to be in the right place. So the heart of Maharaj Bharata was with the deer. He was thinking of the deer. And sometimes I ask devotees, so what is it that when you are doing, you just forget about time? You forget about time. So for some people, it may be kirtan. For some people, it may be eating. For some people, it may be watching a movie. It may be different things. But if you want to check where is your heart, then you can ask yourself this question. What is it that if I'm doing it, I forget about time, and I forget about place, and I'm just focused on this 100%. So, where is our mind? This is where our soul will go. This is where our destination will be. And therefore it is said that what we are thinking in the moment of death, this destination we will attain. And someone may say, yes, I can do nonsense this whole life, but at the end I will remember Krishna and I will go back to Krishna. But this is not possible. One has to practice whole life in order to be able to remember Krishna at the end of life. And even if for some reason we are not able to remember because of our devotional service and sincere attempts, the Lord will force Himself into our mind at the moment of death and bring us back to Him. So one needs to earn the right to go back to Godhead. One needs to pay the price. One needs to pay the price. So many people want success, but they don't want to pay the price. They don't even know what is the price. I mean, if you ask people how many of you want success, actually I do this in seminars, then everybody raises their hand. And I've asked them, how many of you know what is the price of success? Then not everybody, like half or maybe 2/3 raise their hand. And when I ask them, how many of you are ready to pay the price of success? Then very few hands go up. Very few hands go up. So if we want success, then we have to first know what is the price of success, and then we need to pay it, start paying it. And it's very simple. So we cannot cheat Krishna, and we can only cheat ourselves if we are not paying the price every single day. I remember once Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote me and asked me, how are you doing? And then I said, well, I'm trying to pay the price on every beat of Mahamantra, to pay the price of Krishna consciousness, to chant, to hear also with attention. And everything we do, if we do it with proper consciousness, if we do it with full attention, then it will bring the desired result. But if we do it mechanically, we start to do things mechanically, then we will not be happy. And, if you do things mechanically, you can have a taste for what you are doing. And some people can, do things mechanically every single day. But if their heart is somewhere else, if their mind is thinking of something else, then they will leave after some time. They will leave because they don't have a taste. They are doing things mechanically. They're doing things with the body. But where is the mind? Is the mind there also? Is the mind here? Is your offering of service sincere? So this is a great lesson here. This is a great lesson here. And here Srila Prabhupada mentions Atmavan Manyate Jagat. That, everybody is seeing things, perceiving things subjectively. Who can be objective? It's very difficult to be objective. But if we try to see through the eyes of the scriptures, then we can be objective. Shastra Chakshu, Shastra Jnana Chakshusha. That one has to see through the eyes of the scriptures, then he can see the reality as it is. And here Maharaj Bharata is, because he was noble, then he was thinking, maybe the deer will also be kind and return back, although I neglected him. In a sense, he was projecting his good quality. But usually people project their bad qualities, but Maharaj Bharata, because he was so exalted, he was projecting his good quality on the deer. So But we should strive to see things objectively, or to see things from the point of view of the spiritual platform. Then we will see what is the reality. Like, for example, if you are helping people or resolving conflict, one person may come to you and start to complain like anything. Oh, this guy is bad, or this woman is bad, and they complain like anything, and they present themselves as a victim. But actually, if you dig deeper, if you try to find out what is behind, what is the truth there, it may be completely opposite. That this person who complains is actually a rascal, not the one who is accused. So therefore, in mediation, we always want to hear both sides, not only one side. So what is the truth here? Why people don't like coaching? Because you have to face the truth about yourself, about what you need to change. Even if coach doesn't say anything, but the nature of coaching is such that if you speak, even if you just talk yourself, then things will come up, and you will have to face the truth. That what are you not changing, what are you not doing, what that you should be doing. So therefore, this is only for those who are bold. It takes courage to face the truth. There is this saying in the Bible, and the truth will set you free. And then I added to this sentence, but first it will mess you up. Or first it will disturb you. So imagine if Krishna comes and says, I would like to tell you what you need to change. And you say, oh, please, I'm not ready to hear. Maybe I need a couple of years more. And some devotees when they come to coaching, they say, shoot. Okay, tell me everything you think I should change. What's wrong with me? And then I say, well, why should I just tell you what's wrong with you? I can tell you what's right with you. There is so many things that are right with you and that you also don't see, or you don't take them, you don't use them for your progress. So why focusing only by what doesn't work? So why should we listen to Krishna or devotees or anybody who is willing to give us feedback, or the Super Soul? Why should we listen, and why should we change anything? Because the things we are doing that are not in our interest, they're actually self-sabotage. We are acting against ourselves. So people or Krishna is trying to tell us something not because of his benefit, but because of our benefit. So if one understands this, then it's not difficult to hear the truth about what we need to change. So you have heard about the word denial. When you close your eyes, you don't want to see what's the truth, you want to hear the truth, you want to face reality, denial. So you're just pretending something that is there, it's not there. Just imagine if someone has cancer and doctor says, you have cancer. He says, no, I don't have cancer. I don't want to have cancer. He says, well, you're going to die if you don't take it seriously. You have to do something. There was one devotee told me a story of a man from Croatia who published a book. He had cancer and no doctor could help him. He went to so many alternative doctors and also just these ordinary doctors. And nobody could help him. And then he decided to help himself. He started walking in the mountains and drinking this fresh water, mountain water, taking some food from the villagers, just walking in the mountains. He's still alive after so many years. Somehow he found a way to heal himself. So, and I visited one devotee couple in Croatia, and the Mataji, she had cancer, and doctor told her she will die in in a couple of months. And somehow she surrendered to this. She accepted that she is going to die very soon. And she had 2 kids and a husband. Then the husband said, "So you want to go? You want to leave us?" She said, "No." And he said, "Well, then you have to listen to me. I will tell you what to do. You have to walk. You have to be on a diet. You have to help yourself." And one of the best things I have heard in my life, I will never forget. She told me then, I came there to him to get some advice about my heart situation. It was after I visited here 2 years ago. I went there. And he told me that he saved his brother by his instructions. And his brother had a worse heart condition than I. And the doctors couldn't believe it. The doctors were saying, what are you doing? Your results are getting better and better. Whatever you are doing, continue it. And he just told him to walk. He just told him to be careful with his diet, to exercise. And his condition improved so much. So also this Mataji was listening to her husband. And then what she told me was one of the best things I have heard in my life. She said, "We always think that someone else should help us, but actually we should help ourselves." So she helped herself by following things that were helping her health. And I heard that today also she's still walking for 4 or 5 kilometers a day. And she's much healthier, and cancer is gone, and she's continuing to live. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to the 24th verse of the 6th chapter, God helps those who help themselves. God helps those who help themselves. So the best person to help you is you. And in any area of life, health and mental situation, emotional, whatever. And one great thing about life is that God has given us choices. We can choose what we will do, and we can choose how we want to help ourselves, and we can choose whom we will listen to. So I was told today is Kundicha Marjana, and I was happy to hear this, one of my most favorite parts of the scriptures. And this is a pastime of Lord Chaitanya, where devotees gathered to clean the temple. But in this section of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this epic purport, where there is description of anarthas, gross anarthas and subtle anarthas, and this is an amazing part of Srila Prabhupada's books, one of the most important parts of Srila Prabhupada's books. So now cleaning the gross dirt symbolizes the cleaning of our gross anarthas, and then cleaning the fine dirt or dust is a symbol of cleaning our subtle anarthas. Subtle anarthas are described as fame, adoration, distinction, and there is a whole list, and there is, in Madhurya Kadambini, there is much more description, and Bhaktitirtha Maharaj has written a book about this based on his lectures, and Ananda Vrindavan Mataji has given a very detailed course in Bhaktivedanta College. She's from Bosnia, about Madhurya Kadambini, and I have heard actually her whole course that she has given in Sarajevo about this, and it was outstanding, and devotees were really excited. And I think we need such courses every month, at least once a month. So it is said, Mandire Marjanadishu, Chetodarpana Marjanam, Mandire Marjanadishu, that cleaning the temple also means we are cleaning our heart. By cleaning the temple, we are cleaning our heart from all impurities. So we need to believe that devotional service is cleaning our heart. We need to believe that. And of course we can also experience it as we continue chanting and doing service. We can experience some purification, but it's very important to also not make offenses. It's like when you're driving a car and then pressing on the brakes at the same time. So one has to release the brakes. So when one actually stops making offenses, it is compared with releasing the brakes, and then one can go very fast, because this process is so powerful. This process is very, very powerful. But if one makes offenses, he slows down his progress. It can even stop it, at least for some time. So it's so dangerous to make offenses to the holy name, to the deities, to devotees. So we have to learn what are these offenses and then avoid them. Now there is one fact about conditioned souls, that actually they have spiritual potential. In the 29th verse of the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Ashcharyavat, that the soul is amazing, and that means that the soul has an amazing potential also. It has an amazing potential. So we can choose to see people in terms of their imperfections or problems that they create, or we can choose to see people in terms of their potential, what they can do, as pure spirit souls, as eternal servants of Krishna. And this perception actually helps these people to become what they can become, to be the best they can be, to be the best themselves, to be their best self. This perception from the part of some authorities or leaders or teachers or mentors, it can help them. Famous German writer and philosopher Johann Wolfgang Goethe, he said, "Treat the man as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat him as he could and should be, and you will help him to become that." So if we believe in people, believe in their potential, believe they will change, then this will help them actually to change. And maybe you have your own experience, maybe that somebody has believed in you despite all of your imperfections, and it helped you to come to a certain level where you have less imperfections, or you have no imperfections maybe. So this helps a lot. And Krishna and Acharyas, they believe that we have this potential, they believe in us, therefore they never give up on us. They never give up. I remember I was always impressed how Sachinanda Maharaj, when he comes to a place, he remembers some people who only come when he comes, like some artists or some, I don't know, actors or some relatively famous people. And he always, when he comes, he asks about them and asks them to come or asks devotees to call them. And once I told him, "This is amazing, and why are you doing this? I mean, these people are useless." They do nothing. They just come when you come, and they have a nice chat with you, but they're not serious about spiritual life. And he said, "Well, they will continue in next life." So he's making sure they get some Agyata Sukriti. So I thought, wow, this is a long-term vision of cultivating people, over many lifetimes. I was very impressed, and it taught me a lesson to be patient with people, and that every investment pays off. So this was great. This was a great lesson. Also, I asked him once, how can I preach? Many years ago, maybe in the 80s. And he said, just be your natural self. Just be your natural self. So I didn't understand exactly what it means, because in me there is two selves. There is a bad guy and a good guy. So, but I never, maybe I will ask him to elaborate on this next time I see him, or maybe write him a letter. What do you mean by this? To be my natural self? Because if I really, like if I become spontaneous, it may show up in very ugly ways. But we can learn from preachers the attitude towards people and the approach and how we can also engage. So this will help us to learn, as I said yesterday, to follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. And sometimes, I don't know if you have done it, but sometimes you can just learn the lecture of your spiritual master, or have all the points, just repeat it, and you see how people are really, really inspired and impressed. My former spiritual master also, he did this with Srila Prabhupada's lectures. He would just memorize the whole lecture, repeat it, and people would be so inspired and impressed. So following the footsteps of previous acharyas can help us to overcome all kinds of obstacles. And when we see, Maharaj Bharata is also acharya. We will see next life he get another birth as a deer, but then the next birth he's Jada Bharata, and he's an acharya. As Jada Bharata, he's an acharya. And he's not recognized immediately by people, but later on it becomes clear that he is a Paramahamsa. So so he has, when he has been born as a deer, he has kept his consciousness, and he would still have this consciousness from previous lives. And then in the next life, he was really determined not to fall in Maya again. So we can learn from him. He had tests. He had this attachment. He had to go through a body of an animal for one lifetime, and then he was super serious. So this point is also in other places in the Bhagavatam. It happens again and again when devotees go through difficulties, through tests, through attachments, and then at what point they become super serious. And this is when their real progress starts. So we can example of Chitraketu Maharaj, we can example of Dhruva Maharaj, we have example of Bharata Maharaj, and we have example of Avanti Brahmana. At one point they became super, super serious. And from then on, they were just successful no matter what happened. They were just going forward, moving up or moving forward. And this is a great example for us, and the goal that we can set for ourselves. I want to come to a point to become super, super serious. And then I believe we are protected and in the safe place. So thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions? Comments, questions? Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.